Rachel.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Good.
Good. Ah,
Good morning, Matthew, Frank, Mike, Nancy.
Thursday.
Happy
Morning.
Thursday. Happy
Happy
Thursday.
Thursday.
Friday Eve.
Yeah, exactly, right? All right. We're going to get going in just a second here. Matthew, where are you again? What part of the world are you in?
I am in Ventura, California.
How did you deal with all of the hurricanes that we usually get here on the East Coast?
You know what? It was interesting. I'm actually from Pittsburgh, but originally, but we were in San Diego visiting my son who's in the Navy, and we ended up leaving early Saturday night instead of coming home Sunday so we could avoid all the rain. So, but it was where I live when the storm came through. It was just like a light rain at first. There was some wind, and then the wind just stopped, and then it was like a drizzle. So we thought, well, that was kind of a dud. And then about an hour later, we got a little bit heavier rain. So, but we live right by. Then we had an earthquake. So, when we live right by where the earthquake was centered in Ojai, we live about less than, well, maybe about 10 miles from Ojai. So we had two. One was 5 point something, and then there was another one about an hour later of 4 point. And then we had a couple aftershocks, but I'm used to it. It was just a little bit of a shake, not bad. I don't get nervous about it, but we've had some bad ones in California over the years. But the storm was just like a heavy rainstorm, honestly.
Boy, the hype was something.
I know, and they were calling it hurricane and all that. And it was just like, yeah. So, but what's good is, if you know, California, we've had a drought for a few decades. So the last rain we had last winter really filled up our lakes, which was nice. And we get a lot of water from the Colorado River and I think Lake Powell, so we've been struggling with people weren't allowed to use water to water their lawns. And so everything was dying. So the rain, we really need it. And unfortunately, not that everybody wants to hear this, but maybe about 15 years ago, we voted in here in California, we voted in a lot of money to build new water reservoirs because we need to reserve the water when we get it because we don't get it as much anymore. And so a lot of the billions of dollars were sitting there and nobody ever took on the project of building more reservoirs to hold the water. So a lot of it, if you saw what they call the LA River was really full. It's just an aqueduct that was put in to bring the water down to the ocean. So a lot of that went into the ocean. So anyways, it's all good. Our lakes are full, so we're happy we got the rain. We needed it bad.
Boy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're safe.
Oh yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Everybody, Nancy Miles is having trouble with her speakers. Is anybody tech and can help her with that? She can't hear us. Let me try my other computer. All right, she'll do that. All right, well, let's get going because we're a few minutes in. And I'll just let people in as they come. Yeah, survival of the fittest. Who's going to come back for all the rest of it? All right, sounds good. So let's just get to it. So I know we talked about last time just to write some things down, just what your goals are. I think it's pretty evident and obvious as we went through everything the other day that revenue share can actually way bypass just working with commissions. So it's certainly worth putting some attention to if you're into it, if you want to do it, of course. And then I asked you to make a list of where your target audience would be. We'll go through some of that as well. And then how you want to call, and then just if you're planning to start a team. It's a thought, it's an idea. Maybe you have one, maybe you want to start one, but in any case, we're going to go through some of this stuff. So just a couple of the golden rules, and we hear this all the time, but I don't know if everybody actually follows it. So we're not gonna spew EXP. That's commission breath. That's salesman. That's everything we don't want to be. Used car salesman. Sorry if anybody is one of those, but we certainly don't want to do that. And there's a couple of ways to get around it. And preparedness certainly helps. You want to also create a process, simple, repeatable steps. I'm going to go through 7 steps that work. And then you want to make sure you have templates. You're not caught off guard. Will always be questions that you're asked that you don't necessarily know, but we put that into the program as well. So that can also be taken care of. You also want to create a presentation. Some people love it. Some people don't. Go on Fiverr, do whatever you got to do, but we have information that you definitely want to put in there, and then you can take it from there. The other thing is you absolutely want to let them come to their own decision. From the very get-go, and that's why these steps are set up the way that they are. And it's not one and done. So unless it is, and it absolutely could be one and done. Somebody's like, yep, I've heard about it, I want it. But it usually isn't, and you shouldn't look at it that way, because as soon as that happens, you're coming from a place of me, not them, and that's an important piece. You absolutely have to respect their position. Changing brokerage is a big deal. We've all done it. We're all here. We were all somebody someplace else. It is a big deal. It's not just the paperwork and how much time it takes, and do I have to bring over my listings, and what do I do with all the rest of it? It's a big deal, and it needs to be respected. And don't expect them to join just because you said so. Like you would trust you and all that kind of stuff, but that isn't just necessarily why they're going to be doing any of it. Did anybody want to share what they went over when they were putting it together, just as far as this past life, when you're going to start, write down your goals? Did everybody do that? Do they have an idea of what they're trying to do there? All right, who wants to share some of that?
I'll share a little bit. So just and I attend a lot of these meetings, and I've been around a little bit. So I know now that people were just like, oh, well, I'm going to call the people that I know and work with only. And I've done that. And sometimes that's even a little bit harder, right? Just because some agents, it's interesting how that dynamic is. But there are a lot of successful agents who are doing agent attraction, who are getting names, right? Just even going to Zillow and doing the agent search in a zip code area that they want. Or because you can look on Zillow, you can actually see they've had 6 closings this year, or 24 recent closings, or they're going to like realtor.com and they're just actually cold calling them. So it's a little bit easier. So, and that is really helpful. And then I don't know if anybody here has heard of that CRM called CRM Grow.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought into that. It's $49 a month, but I bought into that last month. But they actually send agent leads now. You're getting like at least 2 leads a day of agents in zip code that you ask them about. So that's kind of interesting. But I have my list, and there's people that say, well, be strategic about it, right? Don't go after people that are not wanting anything. Go towards those that are swimming to the boat. And then they're also I just lost my train of thought, but they're just going after people who close at least 6 deals. If you know, right, when you cap, it's 2.7 million in volume, which isn't a lot in California. That's maybe 3 deals almost.
Yeah, but
maybe.
that's only if you're at a 3% commission rate. It's about 3.2 million if you're at 2.5% commission rate, which probably everybody is.
So I think it's still maybe
not much.
Yeah, here it's 3 or 4 deals, but depending on your price point where you live. So go after agents that are capping or half cap, stuff like that. So I think, but I wrote down that I'm trying to be strategic a little bit. There's people I know that have been successful just calling a top producer out of the blue and just saying the right thing at the right time, and that person comes over under them. So I think you just don't limit yourself, right? Don't be nervous about going after top producers. I put a link in the chat. There's a really good video. It's an Inman video. Everybody knows about Inman. So that guy just raved about EXP, and he showed really great slides and charts about how EXP is dominating. So that's good. If you want to look at that, maybe that's something to share with a potential prospect.
And that's a great one for everybody to watch too. It's that's been floating around there since it came out. It's a really good one. Yeah. And Matthew, can you share a little bit about the CRM Grow? You're saying that there are agent leads on that now. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, they just started it. So not that I'm doing a commercial for CRM Grow, but they just started it. So the developer of CRM Grow, he started with EXP when he was a new agent. He developed CRM Grow because he's more techie. So there's 2 different plans. One's $49 a month. The other one is $99. So I joined probably a month ago. And I talked to him and he said, just do the $49 a month. We're doing this brand new thing where it's called agent vending machine. So what he did was he developed it, he ran it, and people used it. It's successful because you can send videos, right? So I feel like I'm doing a commercial. I apologize about that, but you can send videos, so you don't really need BombBomb if you have CRM Grow. Also, that if anybody was using that 9-minute video to explain EXP explained that by Agent Builder Pro, it'll say demo if you're using the demo, but if you want it to be personalized, that was $19 a month. So I had that, so I was able to stop it. But anyways, Matthew's goal was to have a big data company, which we don't know what it is. It could be Zillow or somebody, but somebody, he wanted to sell it to a big data company so that data company can bring in and really make CRM Grow ginormous in terms of functionality. So he did. He got a data company to buy it. So that data company is just taking it on. And so they started this thing called Agent Vending Machine. So, you know, since I'm the $49 a month, I get like, I'm supposed to get at least 2 agent leads a day. So you put in there, I'm looking in this zip code and give me leads of, you can put a filter, give me leads of agents that are selling more than 20 homes a year or between 10 and stuff like that. And so, but I'm getting like 3 leads a day already. And I just, you know, that started about a week ago, the agent vending machine. So it's good. I'm using that. And so it's a good CRM if people want,
Like
you
a
can
funnel.
look.
That's like a
Yeah.
funnel. That isn't somebody that's reached out to say, I want to learn about EXP. That's just funneling
Yeah.
from what you're putting in.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. Yeah. So the CRM Grow has built-in automations where you put a contact and it'll send them already developed for EXP. It'll send them an introduction email, then it'll send them a text with a video in it. And if they look at the video, then it sends them down this funnel to look at. It's pretty good. They're giving a 14-day free trial. I don't want to talk about. I just wanted to tell you that's what I'm using, and it's been pretty successful to get agent leads of people in an area that I wanted to talk with. So,
Well,
but
thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Good to know. Okay. Anybody else want to share? We're going to get more into it. Everybody's going to end up talking, but anyway, we'll just keep going. Thank you, Matthew. So here are the 7 steps. Now, I want to preface this by saying these need to be done in this order. They can be done very quickly, or it can go out. I've had it go out for a year. So it all depends on what you're looking at, who you're dealing with. So the first one is determine your goals and your timeline. We'll go through each one of them and all the pieces to it. The second one is to generate interest, invite them to talk. The third is just set up the first meeting, which has to be all about them. The fourth one is set up the second meeting, which is your presentation. That's one-on-one. It can be with a small group. It can be an event. It can be all kinds of things, but that is where you're now talking. Step 5 is edification. This is a big deal. This works. I don't know if all of you understand the edification process. We'll get into that as well. Step 6 is to visit EXP World together. And step 7 is just the follow-up, whatever the Q&A long and short term is going to be. But these need to go in this order, and there's very specific reasons why, and we'll get into that as well. All right, so the very first one here is determine your goals and timeline. So how many agents would you like to add to your revenue share? How much of your business do you want this to be? When do you want this to happen? Do you have a type? Do you have a target audience? Would you rather go after small brokerages, individuals, high producers, local, national, international? Do you want to build a team? So I want to hear from a few of you what you're thinking about this. Rachel, why don't you start? You're at the top of my screen. What are you thinking? What do you want to do here?
My head is spinning, to be honest. That's kind of where I'm at. I am on the opposite of Matthew. I think he's got a wealth of knowledge and a good start. I mean, like he's on a good track. And I feel like I'm just starting and trying to understand the process. And I think this outline is very helpful. You know, my goals and timelines and like now, but not everything happens, you know, immediately, of course. But, you know, I would like a little bit more time just to consider, where I'll be in 6 months and a year. Things for me right now are changing so rapidly. So I just have to consider many, many moving parts right now. And so I'm kind of just learning at this
Oh,
point.
that's fine. Your goals can change. That's not a big deal. The point is you've got to have one. If you don't have one, like, what am I going to get to?
Yeah,
So even if it's like,
exactly.
okay, so if you look at the next 6 months, here's what I want to do in the next 6 months. And maybe it's to like get a rocking presentation and taking it from there. Or it could be just talking to people about it. But
Yeah.
as I said, it could be happen fast and it could happen slow, but start with the goal. And it can be a short goal. I don't know, the 135, if anybody uses that, this is a great way to do this. You've got one main goal, the 3 priorities to achieve that goal, and then 5 strategies for each priority. That works really, really well. Just to put it out in your mind. And Rachel, that would probably be a really good idea for you.
Yeah.
With that.
All right. I'll definitely take this.
Yeah. Frank, how about you?
So yeah, absolutely. My concept is actually want to grow my downline, but I want to do it by growing my team. So I have a team in place already, 4 other agents, including myself. And what I want to do is build that team, but I want to strategically build that team by adding people to the team. I'll have your focus on people that are would be in my downline. So agent attraction plays into that. Just a quick numbers, my 6 month, I wanted to double my count to about 6 more team members. 1 year, I was hoping for 10. And then I guess my question is at some point, I'm going to have to make distinctions between like a team and an organization, because a team, like the team may end up being, a core focused like local group versus like organization. Like obviously I would love to expand attraction, other areas and completely out of my potential service area. So that has to come into play as well, but definitely from the team aspect. So I'm kind of looking at different ways to do that. And considering I've been looking up a lot into EXP's compliance workplace group to find out what I can and cannot put for job postings and things like that.
That's very specific. And that does, but just know that does depend on, you have a team. It depends on the type of team you have. It's more specific depending on your team.
Yep. So I've been doing a lot of research on that since we talked last week, and actually I've been doing a lot of research and seeing what's already out there and finding that most stuff is actually non-compliant that's listed online, Indeed and stuff. So I'm finding what I'm not supposed to be posting and trying to get everything what I do want to post. But agent attraction ties into all that because I want to have that happen too.
So Frank, as far as are you thinking to do agent attraction for the team or not? Because you can do both.
Both, I guess. Yeah, both. Yep.
Yeah, and that's just how you set it up. Everybody, agent attraction doesn't just have to be for the team. I've got a lot of people that aren't on my team that I've attracted.
Exactly.
It's their call. You don't want to say no. If somebody doesn't want to join a team, you don't want to say, well, then I can't have you, because that's
I guess the interesting component, the way I understand the compliance bit of it is the only advertising you can do is to build your team and bring on team members. You can't actually advertise, like if you're going the route of using Indeed and online posting and stuff, you can't do that just for sole agent attraction to build your downline. You have to use it in the capacity of building your team. So there will be that component where it's strategically like looking for people to build the team, and then there will be the agent attraction component, just like I said, like you said too, like a totally separate thing. And some of them may cross and mix, and some of them may be completely separate. But my goal would be to have us still all be connected on some level, because I want to be the type of organization that supports everybody in the downline as much as possible.
That's the type of sponsor you want to be. Good for you. That matters. All
I think so. Definitely.
Awesome. Mike, how about you?
Hey, good morning.
Morning.
So mine's very similar to Frank's and Matt's kind of info that they've given. I'm looking to right now in the next 6 months, I'd like to try and attract at least 10 because I'm really looking to kind of double if I can year after year. So I guess my 6 month would be 10, my year I'd love to do 20, and then just attempt to try and double each year there. My main focus right now has been just individuals starting to see kind of the benefit of looking at small or smaller independent type brokerages, not your big national guys there, just kind of local or regional smaller brokerages. Just for a lot of it is just for the cost savings alone for some of those folks, and being able to attract them over to significantly less overhead for them as managing brokers and whatnot. So that's kind of how I've been kind of targeting folks there. Just I prefer the face-to-face, in-person type meeting.
My guy, yeah.
Yeah, I'll do the texting, emailing type thing, and I certainly I realize know your audience. Generational folks have different wants, likes, and needs, and so certainly our younger folks love the talking with your thumbs more than they do with your mouth, and so I take that into consideration with who I'm talking to. But
know your audience, yeah.
Yeah, really prefer the face-to-face stuff. I think it's a little more intimate, a little more personal, and I have found greater or at least more in-depth kind of conversations when I start that route.
Beautiful. Thank you. David, how about you?
Yeah, can you hear me okay now? Are we good?
Mm-hmm.
So I started my team, a self-organized team, about a year or so ago. Haven't been doing a whole lot with it yet, just going through a bunch of personal stuff, trying to get that off my plate so I can focus and hit the gas going full steam ahead. My plan is to use the team as a way to be able to attract people to EXP, and also make it kind of like a giant referral group across the country and even around the world. So mine's going to be a little bit more loosely organized, at least in the beginning, and trying to find like-minded people that will want to be on board. And so fortunately, I've got this background in media and video production and so forth. So I'm working on making a bunch of visuals and things that really will, catch people's eye, and hopefully make them want to sit up and take notice and have conversations as that work gets going. So that's the plan.
Yeah, it's just start with the goal. What I want to do, how much do I win?
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you, David. Nancy.
Yeah, sure.
Nancy, how about you? What are you thinking?
I at this age, I have zero interest in growing a team.
His age, what does that got to do with anything?
It's too much work. I've been doing this for 38 years, so I just
okay.
I'm looking for attracting as a way of being able to retire. However, I haven't really tried. When I joined EXP about 2.5 years ago, and I tried a couple of times, and then it didn't feel good. Because I didn't really want to. I know that's where the money is, but I have a fear I can't seem to get over. So I haven't really tried.
Where are you now? Do you have goals now? Have you gotten through that, or are you still trying to?
Carolyn, in 38 years, I've never written down goals. I just do what's in front of me.
There you go. Okay.
I just got a buyer that found me on Google. He's looking up to $1 million cash. I'm like, woohoo. But again, at some point, I know the agent attraction. That's where the money's going to be, and because I'm not going to want to keep doing this forever. It's hard to get up and down stairs now. But that's
well,
it.
We hope you get something out. Yeah, we hope you get something out of this.
Yep. Thanks.
Okay, so I got to ask, who is Wake and Hustle? I know there's a name behind that, and I love that name.
It's actually me, Lovey.
Lovey, there you go.
Yeah, this is my Zoom that I use for my morning accountability call. It's on my phone, so.
Oh, nice. Okay. So what are you thinking goal-wise?
My goal is to start now. That's the reason I'm here. I am just new to EXP, so I want to get an understanding of everything that it has to offer. And in the next 3 months, like get a presentation, really have an understanding on like not selling, just organically attracting people to the business and just the platform altogether. Right now, I am a part of an accountability call Monday through Friday. So I utilize that as a way to shed light and let people kind of see what I do and the lifestyle I'm able to live organically. And then I also co founded a Women Who Invest in Real Estate group here, which goes hand in hand with real estate. Obviously, a lot of people are there, they're agents. So that's another way that I'm kind of attracting people or just like letting them see kind of what I do. And ultimately within the next year, I do want a team. So within 12 months, I want to be in that team
Well, look at you
building
go.
momentum.
Good for you. Good for you. It's very clear. Awesome. Thank you. Jennifer, how about you?
Right, good morning.
Hi.
I am trying to figure all of this out. So I'm starting with just learning what agent attraction is. When I signed on, my sponsor, I'm part of the Game Changers agent attraction, but I'm like, I don't know how to attract an agent. So I'm trying to really get this all down so I understand what I'm even trying to do. So that's where I'm at. And once I get that down, then I can start making goals because I don't know what
You
I'm
can go
doing.
from there. Well, take it all in. There are a million different ways to do it. I mean, there are obviously guidelines you want to do culture wise, which is really important, but it has everything to do with your personality and how it's all going to work for you. So take whatever you can out of it. Brenda, good morning. You made it.
I did make it, but I may have to sign off soon. I've got, I don't know, simple goals. After our last meeting, I decided I wanted to, hopefully by December 31st, I'd like to have 12 agents on my downline. I'd like to have sold and closed a house by December 31st. And I like each one of the people on my downline to have a house under contract. And the people I'm targeting are new agents, kind of sort of like me. And one of my strategies is because I worked as a showing agent for 2 years, and at the last place I was at, I wasn't afforded any of the type of training that I'm getting here at EXP. There's a lot of things I feel like I can tell an agent who's just passed their test. I can show them a lot of things and use that as a reason as to why um, I should be their sponsor and why EXP should be their brokerage. So that's
Perfect.
kind of
That's perfect. We'll get into all that too. There's lots of stuff there. Good for
yeah.
you.
And
Gotta
as
figure
far
it
as
out.
building a team, I was thinking maybe one day in the future, but not within the next 6 months or a year.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. All right, Lou, I see you over there doing yoga. You're last.
Yeah,
Not last. Last one.
stretching a little bit. I have the standing desk, so like
Oh,
sometimes
good for you. Good for you. So
well,
what are your goals?
my goal is to like within the next year, for 2024, to kind of like go in, spend a lot more time with agent attraction, but so far, like what I would like is to just start kind of planting seeds, to kind of like build database and follow up, like Matt was saying. And then just from there, just start to kind of like head in full time, still do obviously my production because that's what gets you paid today. But I definitely want to start gearing more towards agent attraction next year. Just trying to set myself up more and more. But
Well, just be clear on numbers. That's all great. I want to do this. I want to do that. How much by
yeah,
when? Be
yeah,
how much by
sorry.
when? Yeah, you don't
Um,
have to tell us, but just, I want X by whenever. Keep it to yourself if you want to, it's certain, but that's the whole point of a goal. I think I want to do this. And then, here we are at the end of December and it didn't happen, but
so by the end of the year, I would like to attract two.
there you go.
And then in 24, I'm thinking trying to do one per month would be the goal.
Perfect. Perfect. There you go. That's doable. That's very
Yeah.
doable. All right, great. Thank you, everybody. We'll keep going. Obviously generating interest. You all know where you're comfortable. You all know where you shine, whether it's your own sphere of influence, any social media that you've got, Facebook presentations, all that. You definitely need a presentation. We'll get into that as well. Facebook Live, events, whatever you want to do. So just think about how you want to generate that interest. Does anybody have any other ideas that might be a little bit out of the box of how to generate interest? Now it's interesting, David, I know you teach video, you teach David's an icon and he teaches video. Now I know that's not in agent attraction, but I wonder if that is something you could do otherwise.
Actually, that's actually part of my idea is I'm going to connect with agents and invite them to like a free Zoom call where if I'm doing those Zooms, perhaps you guys could bring your respective people to the Zoom as well, where I can give people tips and tricks on how to be better on camera, how to brand yourself on video, all the things that people are scared to death of how to do. I show people how to do that in the EXP world twice a month. So I'm thinking I'll try to leverage that knowledge and value to get a conversation started with people who might just want to improve what they do, where I don't make it about EXP in those classes. I make it about how to show people something and then give them sort of a hook to want to come back and learn more from me. I think that might really help at some point.
Yes, that's part of the process. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Any other ideas? Something a little out of the ordinary? It depends on your personality. It depends on how this is all the usual stuff. Yeah, of course. This is all the usual stuff, but there's a lot of different things that can happen.
I think real quick, like almost like in real estate, right? They say if you want more clients, right, you get a great client or you get a raving fan, a person has a lot of friends and that is an influencer even in just your community. I think if you have an agent in terms of agent attraction, maybe they're not a top producer, but there's somebody that have a lot of real estate friends and they have good influence over those people, maybe a real estate coach or something. I know people have been successful like that. Those are great people too to bring onto your organization because they can be your biggest builders. And I put a link in the video to Eric Olin and he talks about that in his video I put in there, but he made a cold call to a real estate coach in Miami named Montel. Wait, anyways, can't remember the first name, but he already recruited like 1,000 people under him. And there's a guy named Chris Sawyer who only has 9 people, but he recruited Connor Steinbeck, who recruited Mike Sherrard, who's big on video. He doesn't even do cold calls, but he has 2,800 people in his organization because he recruited one massive builder. So I think if you look at that too, when you have your goals of who you're going to go after those people that have a lot of influence, like friendly, outgoing, stuff like that. I think that's a good help you build your organization.
Very good point. Thank you for putting that also. Sure, Rachel.
I have a quick question, or kind of request, and this kind of goes along with timeline too, and setting goals. I just wanted to know, like, the Matts, the Devin, and how much time, like how much percentage of your whole business in real estate do you devote to agent attraction? And that I think that kind of would help to kind of put a framework around, okay, this is how much it takes to get to where you guys are at.
I can answer, since you mentioned me, a little bit of where my mindset is, and that is every deal that I do with somebody, I'm always sizing them up and thinking, is it somebody I want to talk to about EXP? Is it somebody I'd want to have associated with me? And I try to make those transactions go as smoothly as I can and have organic conversations with them, so that I now have, I mean, that's kind of the great cause or the side effect of doing, a lot of transactions is as you do that, you can actually talk to these agents and sort of get a feel for what they're about. And, I can kind of mention, it's a perfect opportunity to mention how happy I am where I'm at. Because if they see me every time during the transaction and I'm genuinely upbeat and they see I'm positive and I'm not like one of those agents where you sweat having the text come across your phone from, they can just sort of sense that I'm in a good space. And if they're receptive to it, like he was saying, swimming towards a boat, then I can have a more organic conversation, invite them to a couple things, whatever. And the next thing I believe it'll gain some ground. I think it's a time, it takes time. So as far as setting aside the time, I just kind of do it when I find time. But that said, I'm a bit of a hypocrite right now because I haven't really attracted nearly as much as I'd like to because I've been so sidetracked with a bunch of personal stuff. But like I said before, once that's kind of off my plate, then I can really lean into it, full on. So that's my plan.
Thank you.
And Carolyn, I just wanted to, I don't know if this is like a good time to like throw this in there too, but to go off of what David was saying about like showing value with like his video classes and everything, just to kind of like open the door and have conversations and get in front of people. Putting up like the events, like the agent attraction event that we're doing over at Tilted Barn. It's realistically, it's just a way for the agents to kind of like come in and kind of get together and talk and network and everything. That opens the door like so many different ways, I think, just for being able to have conversations and provide value to those agents. I've already had several conversations with agents about like inviting their entire brokerage or their entire company to it. And a few of them were like, oh yeah, definitely. Like I'll send out all the posts and flyers and everything. So I think just hosting those types of events, like even like the ones, even though they're not really agent attraction events, but like the events that I have in Newport, the Aquidneck Island Real Estate Investor Group, like just having those events, like people come up to me and they start kind of just having conversations with me, and like they ask me to go out to lunch and breakfast.
Yeah. And you know what? That's what's going to work for you, Lewis. That's who you are. That's tapping into your personality and what you're good at, and you keep going. Absolutely. I agree. I think events, yeah, all of them that are happening.
Yeah. Yeah. And just like Kim was saying in the group chat last night, wow, EXP is everywhere. Somebody came up to her and said that. And like a year ago or a year and a half ago, we didn't get that for EXP.
We didn't get that, no. We're talking about Little Rhode Island, those of you who aren't here.
So it's cool that now that we're starting to grow our networking events and everything, everybody's kind of seeing us everywhere.
Yeah, and we're growing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry. Okay, that's it.
No, that's okay. That's okay. And so it doesn't have to be local also, though we could do it internationally, which is also a great thing. All right, so let's get into the guts of this. So the very first meeting that you have with a candidate, just remember, it's just a conversation. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be nervous. It doesn't have to be any of those things. It's just, but you want to, on this very first conversation, this is all about them, not you. You don't want to spew EXP, it's just the best place because I remember. No, not at all. This very first meeting has to be separate from the second one because this has to be all about them. Now they can be back to back, absolutely, but you're going to focus out and you're going to listen. And I know for some people, that's not an easy thing to do. People like to talk, they like to spew. No, not in this. This is all about them. You want to guide the conversation by what you hear and what you learn. You're going to find out their pain points this way, and not by disparaging their brokerage at all, but they're just going to tell you that there's a reason why they're having this conversation with you, whether they know it or not. You're going to find out those pain points, and that's what you're going to speak to later. When you do speak with them at the next meeting, you're going to be able to say what those solutions are with EXP. And granted, there's something that's going to help them, but you also want to ask specific questions as it relates to them. So we can get into a couple of those. So after you get through the, hey, how's everything? How's the kids? How's blah, blah, blah. What does your perfect brokerage look like? You're not saying anything bad. You're not saying anything good. Like if you could create this perfect brokerage, what would it look like to you? You can learn a whole hell of a lot about what they're thinking because they're going to tell you obviously what they don't like from what they want to create. Very, very important information here. Do not assume that you ever know what they're talking about. Don't assume you know their answers, and don't assume you know their pain points. You hear, everybody's here, now all the stuff about KW and doing their profit sharing. So you're hearing all of this stuff just because we're all so connected. Doesn't mean you know what they're thinking. They might not care about that. They might care about something else, but don't ever assume that you know what it is like, what's going on with them. Most likely EXP's got the same or better. They've got an answer for whatever they need, but you got to let them talk, because half the time they're not necessarily thinking about it either. But a perfect brokerage, they're going to, oh, let me think about that. And then it's just all going to come out, and it most likely will not be guarded. So that's a really big piece to it. That's just like one of the questions. Some of the other ones, again, it is all about them. They don't want to hear about you. They don't want to hear about how wonderful you are. You can get to that later, but just remember, focus out, always out. I'd love to hear about your experience in real estate. What made you decide to meet with me today? Whenever I get on the phone with anybody, that's my first question. I'm so glad we're here. So what made you decide to say hello? You learn everything. Again, what's the perfect brokerage look like to you? Or what's next for you in real estate? This leads them to the, well, okay, well, that was then, and this might be now. Whether they're understanding it or not, these questions bring out their own thoughts. Any other thoughts on this, on what questions you can ask from this standpoint? Anyone want to share any thoughts?
No, I know some of the best people say, ask those questions like you did, talk 10% and let them talk 90%. That's the better strategy. Absolutely.
You got to remember, they're not here for you, right? They're not. And as soon as you come across by, well, I did this and I did that, nobody gets a, you know what, but they're searching for something. There's a reason. They might not know what it is, but they're searching for something. So they want to ask something. Frank, what's your question, bud?
Yeah, so I guess my sort of like, I'm just thinking ahead. So agent attraction a lot of times might fall onto the ears of newer agents, either brand new, somebody just getting licensed, or somebody who's only been in the business a year or two and is having a hard time finding their bearings and whatnot. And I see the value in attracting these people just as much, because we were all new at one point. We all, could be amazing top producing agents. And I think a lot of us, maybe in agent attraction, do focus on established agents, but it's probably actually, I'm thinking, like, if you look at the numbers, it's probably actually easier to attract agents that are newer, brand new, or within the business, maybe 1 to 3 years, because they haven't really got settled in somewhere. So I guess my question to you, Lynn, is how would you address that, and how would you change the way that you might do some of these steps if you are dealing with a brand new or an agent, like just say like 1 to 3 years in the business?
I wouldn't change the steps at all. I would never change the steps.
Okay.
You'll have different questions, but the steps build upon one another. And the reason why this first step is all about listening and focusing out is because they're coming to you. They're thinking, all right, I'm going to get sold. All right, I'll listen. Yeah, I got bamboozled into listening to this dude. But that's not so you're turning it completely around by saying, so if it's brand new, Frank, it's somebody just saying, you're asking them, so tell me why you got into real estate.
Right. That's what I was thinking. Like, the questions really would be a lot different, because their pains aren't going to be that they hate their brokerage where they are, because they don't even, like, they may not even know about a brokerage or something.
And a lot of them don't. You know how often you hear, I love my broker. Well, great. Is he paying? What's he paying you? Whatever. Yeah. That's way back stuff. But it's just still a question. It's a question about, okay, so you're brand new. What do you want to do with this? And that's it. Mm-hmm. But absolutely all about them, which is not easy all the time, but it needs to be. Okay. And then, all right, let's try this. Let's just try these very first questions. All right. We need 2 people. Who wants to volunteer? Hey, Lo. All right. You be the person asking the questions. Who do you want to ask them to?
Awesome. To Matt.
Okay. So Matt, you're being sold. You're being recruited.
Lou, the shoe. Okay.
What's up, Matt?
How you doing, Lou?
Good. How are you? How's everything going?
It's going pretty good, man. I can't complain. I just had a closing yesterday.
Awesome, man. Congratulations. That's
Thank
great.
you.
What was your experience with it?
It was actually really good. It closed in 21 days, and we got multiple offers, and we sold over list price. So my sellers are really happy, and we're happy.
Yeah, awesome, man. Congrats. That's awesome. Really cool.
Thank you.
So now what's next? Like, what's the next step in your business? Are you continuing to stick to that route and go listings, or are you focusing
Yeah,
more
I
on-
actually do want to focus on listings, so I'm pretty picky on what buyers I take and stuff like that, or I'll refer somebody out. But yeah, I really am going after listings.
Awesome, man. And what's your goal? Like how many?
Well, I'm different. So probably I'd like to close, maybe at least 15 a year. So I'm not like wanting to be, 25 a year or anything like that, but at least 15 a year.
At least 15 a year?
Yeah.
That's got to be a good number. So that must translate pretty well in your market, right? Because you're in Cali, was it?
Yeah, and in my area, it's average is 850,000. So yeah, that's enough to make a good income and still have a lot of free time.
Yeah, absolutely. So being that you're focused on like the 15 transaction, everything, obviously that is absolutely amazing. What's next after that point? Are you focusing on all your energy on just doing those 15 and then you're just kind of, hanging around with family and stuff like that, or?
Yeah, actually, I like to travel. So I like to do that. And then I have a team. So my son is a realtor with me. So we both absorb the different parts of work. So we do different aspects of it. But I do like to travel. And so, yeah, I don't want to like I'm a retired social worker of 20 years. So I worked a career. So I do real estate because I love it, but I love it because I can manage it. And so that's pretty much my goals.
All right, I want to interrupt here if I can, please.
Yeah.
Lou, there was a perfect segue there that I think you missed.
Yeah, I know.
And you just let me finish. So it was great. So is this what your goals are? Stop at that. He told you your goals. You don't need to ask what's after that because he probably doesn't know. And now he's uncomfortable.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Right. But then going from that place of your goals, the next question should have been, are you does that work well at your brokerage? I mean, an innocent question, not a disparaging question, an innocent. Well, great. So I'm sure your brokerage is behind you on all that. What kind of resources do they have for you? Again, it's about him, but now he's going to be thinking, do they? Do they have what I want? This is what I want to do. Can they do it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
At some point during the conversation, you have to segue into the real estate piece. You have to segue into the reason you're here. Yes, it has to be all about them. Yes, you have to focus out. But the question then has to come in about, well, are you happy part? Are you getting what you need?
Okay.
Yeah, and I like a question too when you talk about like that, like, hey, what do you love about real estate, right? And then let them talk, and then after that, say, well, what about real estate don't you like? What are the things that you're not happy with right now? Is it the market?
Pros and cons.
Yeah, and then that lets me say, well, one thing I'm not happy about is I don't really feel like I have enough time for my family or to do the things I want. And then you can just hit on that and say, I was in that same situation. I felt the same way. I felt like I was on the hamster wheel of real estate and always going after the next listing because I only get paid once when I close a deal. I don't continue to get paid. So I'm always looking for the next listing. But I had to pivot, and I actually ended up going over to EXP. And so I don't have that problem anymore. I got my time back. So, and then that generates their interest. Like, how'd you get the time back? Well, because we have the resource.
You can open it up there about you, but stop just a little bit. Oh yeah, I kind of had it. Like mine is just, I wanted to retire. I didn't want, nobody was going to buy my brokerage. I wanted to figure that out and then stop. Do not explain it. Don't know. Just stop. Then well, how did that work? You want them to start asking you questions at that point.
Yeah.
There's big psychology to that.
That is like awesome because exactly what you said, Carolyn. I'm so thankful that like you stopped me right there because that's literally what I do every single time. It's like, I leave these meetings and it was great to like get to know the person and everything, but I don't know how to make that segue, like you said, and just kind of start trying to figure out exactly why I came there to,
exactly. And that's the point. You won't be able to set the second meeting, which is when you get to talk, unless that somehow comes out. So anyway, and thank you, Matt.
That was good. Yeah. So
thank you.
But also, I think you have a great personality, and I think it all depends on, we're all so different, right? Some people love a high energy person. So I think you'll attract high energy people because we all like to be around people that are like us and make us feel good and that are positive. But there still are some people that are like, like in real estate, you mimic and match their mood. And so there are people that,
And
are
how
a
they
little
talk.
quiet. Yeah, yeah. I had a friend that I always thought she was sad because she was so quiet all the time. And she just told me, Matt, you get energized by talking to people. I get energized by being by myself and reading a book. That's how I recharge my batteries. I'm not sad, so don't worry about me that way. And I was like, I learned a lesson there.
Yeah, and that's a big part of it. We're not going to go over that, but
Yeah.
mirror who they are. If you're talking to an accountant, mirror that accountant.
Yeah.
Turn off the Lou and turn on the accountant,
Yeah.
just still be, I mean, you're friendly and all that. You are 100%, you're a promoter. You're you're not an analyzer, you're a promoter. So that when you're coming up against someone that is the complete opposite, you're scaring the hell out of them.
Yeah, I
Scaring the
have
hell out of
that
them.
issue.
Like, turn it off,
Yeah.
So, we talk
Maybe
all
not
day.
turn it off, but like just lower it a little bit.
Just lower it a little. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think if you understand, like, I think it was Rachel who mentioned about being newer if you can dedicate enough time to like go and watch some of the videos and learn a little bit about EXP so you're well versed. But a lot of people, I talked to a guy the other day that was at a separate brokerage that he made 500,000 GCI a year, but he gave 80,000 to his brokerage. And I talked to an agent yesterday that was at Remax with 100% split. And I was like, oh, that's pretty good. He goes, but I gave them $100,000, before he moved the XP. I gave him $100,000 that year before I moved the XP. Okay, 100,000 versus 16 cap. I mean, it's a big difference. And then you get them thinking. And there's something, I'll say it real quick. Like there's a quadrant, like 4 squares, right? And the top one is future or present positive, future positive, and then the lower one is present negative, and then future negative. If somebody's in
That was on the influencer call yesterday.
Yeah. If somebody's in the present positive, like I'm at Remax, I'm happy where I'm at. You can take them to a future negative by saying, well, you're happy where you're at, but can I just ask you how much did you give your brokerage last year of your commission? Oh, 85,000. Okay. So you just start asking them questions and let them answer, let them get themselves in the future negative that, okay, so in 5 years, if nothing changes, you would have given your brokerage $500,000. And then let them start thinking, oh crap, there's going to be a negative future here. And that gets them start thinking about that. But it's a trick to it, but I'm not an expert, so I'm not going to say that I am. But what I love about our different individualities, right? You find your niche, you find how you work with somebody, because we all are so different. So you'll have people that just love to navigate towards you for whatever reason. They see that they trust you and they value your opinion.
Right. So turning that conversation is important to get to the next stop too. So, all right, let's,
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Welcome. All right, let's go back to this. Okay, so can you see the screen? Yeah, setting up the next call.
Yep.
Okay, so you get to a certain point. You don't want to tell them too much. You actually want them to ask you. You want them to ask you, so what's next? And well, I might be interested in that. You don't want to tell them everything at that point. Just like, oh, well, you know what? I gotta go. Let's set up another appointment to do this, because the first part of this is literally a conversation. And if it can be on Zoom, that rocks. If it has to be on the phone, that's fine, or live. The next one is a professional presentation, and spend the time and the energy to get it done, because it makes a huge difference. So you want to thank them for sharing that with you, and would you be interested in meeting again? I can get into some of the details of how that revenue share works or whatever, depending on whatever their button is. Like, talk to the button, talk to the thing that's bugging them, and let them know I have a full presentation to go over if you'd like to hear more. And do not end this call until the next meeting or follow-up is all set. Don't leave, because then it's gone. Like, no, okay, well, let's, I got next week, can we get on a quick Zoom? And then from there, you've got that set up. Try not to do that more than a week. If there's something about the 2-week mark, they're gone. It happens all the time. But you want to get them excited enough to say, yeah, okay. So the second meeting, you want to prepare for this. What you want to do is you want to add that date to your calendar in Google or whatever you use. send them a calendar invitation, and in the description of that invitation, you want to include video links. Matt, you were talking about the 9 minutes. I have that too. I send everybody the 9 minutes. It's quick, it's fast, it's oh, isn't that interesting? But I also send them the model explained by Brent Gove. That's 32 minutes of his amazing personality that you can't stop watching. Some people get through it, some people are like, yeah, I've had enough. But either way, you want them to have some kind of a background, and you want to ask them, hey, jot down any questions if you got, and then I can tell you the rest of it. This will do half of your work. This will do half of what you got to worry about, because it knows all the answers. And any of you that are starting or don't know all the answers, and which might be why you hold back, you don't need to. You don't need to be, and we'll get into that too. So send them to the calendar, double check obviously the day before. You know, that's just simple stuff. That's like you would do with any client. And then figure out the Zoom link. Give them the Zoom link on the invitation, and then follow up with them again. Very simple. You can give them whatever videos you want. As I said, I use these, they work great. Okay, the second meeting, this is you now. You have to shine here. It is your presentation. This is how now we're going to talk about that conversations. How are you going to share this? Do you have a presentation, a PowerPoint, Google Slides, whatever it is, if you don't get them? I've got templates I can send you for that. You want to figure out what are the talking points. Know EXP's value proposition. None of us will ever know everything about EXP, but the more you learn them, it's much easier to at least know the overview. Just what's the overview, and list those out. What are the talking points to it? Speak to how EXP has what they specifically need. What are they dealing with, and what those fixes are. You can list everything out, of course, but concentrate on those. Again, retirement, whatever it is. You're paying RE/MAX $500,000 in the next 5 years. This is when you get to turn it all on. The other one is listening. Now you turn it on. Be ready for questions. Know your stuff. And if you don't know the usual, I will absolutely find that out for you and find it out and tell them. This is all about you. You also want to briefly explain your why. And you all did this the other day on the call. You all talked about your why. And if you've got it, just share it. Are there any similarities into the yours and theirs? Points you want to touch upon, obviously commission splits, EXP University, EXP World. Anything that they have, EXP probably has it better, but no doubt. What an icon is, the revenue share. We went over the calculators and all that kind of stuff. That's a big part of it. If they're talking about retirement, you want look. If once you start plugging in those numbers for revenue share, it blows away commission almost every time. It can be 10 times what somebody can make in a year, because it's like running a business with no overhead and you're just getting paid. It's amazing the way they've figured that out, and they've even made it better. What the stock gifting is, what the fees are. They got to know up front. It's $149 to join and $85 a month. And if you're in the state like Rhode Island, you got to pay tax on that. Be upfront about that. The health insurance, the broker team, and the support. I don't know how many of you go into the world, but the broker teams rock. They are there to help you, and it is drilled into our heads day in and day out. You know, be in service, white glove service. And that's a big part of it. And I've heard so many times from people, I can't believe I can get you so fast. I couldn't talk to my broker and, XYZ with we've got hundreds of agents, but we can get to you. So that's something that's floating around out there that, oh, you can't talk to anybody. You're in the world. And no, we got the opposite going on. I hope anyway, those of you that work with me, I hope that's going on. So meetings, coaching, all the training that's available there, the IRLs, and the sense of community and culture. Big deal. The culture is a big deal. David, what's on your mind?
Yeah, quick question. What was the percentage of EXP agents that are actually using revenue share or attracting agents? Was it like 4.5%, or what was it? A small number? Was it
12%? I heard.
You know what, Matthew? I don't know that it is 12%. We crunched all the numbers. Every single person that is doing revenue share that is a builder and up is only 4,700 people.
Wow.
Oh, 4,700. That's the number I was looking for.
4,736 or something. if you divide that by 88,000, that's not 12%. I don't know where they're getting that number.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah. Blows my mind, but that's what's happening.
It's about 5.3% of our company.
And I wonder, you say that, Matthew, though, but I wonder if that's because we have grown so much. Maybe I've heard 18%. You heard 12. Maybe it's because we're growing so much and not as many people and it's going down. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I check it every month when the leaderboards come out.
Which would also speak to why those revenue share numbers for that 4,700 are quite large, because we've grown organically so big, over time. If you're in early enough, because the thing is, people often get the mindset of, well, gosh, I've already missed the boat because everybody's already coming on board and there's not enough meat on the bone for me to possibly earn anything. Because you see these like Brent Goves and people like that, scooping up everybody, it seems. To a person who's new at EXP, they might feel like this is like there's no way out. There's enough agents out there left to get, which is entirely wrong. But the perception, just knowing that only 4,700 or so, less than 5,000 of 88,000 are actually revenue sharing. That's a pretty good motivator.
Yeah. And unless I got something wrong, but those are the numbers. And a builder is anywhere 0 to 5. So that I don't know who else that leaves. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And if our projections are 500,000 agents in 5 years, and that was last year that declaration was made. Who's going to bring? That's 500,000. That's another 12,000 agents. Yeah, who else is going to bring them in? That's going to be us.
I'll bring 1,000. That'll be fine.
Here we go. You can do it. Anyway, so just getting onto that. So after that second presentation, then the next one is obviously the next steps. Do they have any questions, any thoughts? Do they want to speak to someone else at EXP? This is where the edification comes in. This is important. It can be a team leader. It can be an MB or a DMB. It can be a partner. It can be your own sponsor. They've got skin in the game. And if they haven't made up their mind either way, just keep having conversations. They're going to say, well, I don't know, I'm going to take some time. All right, great. Well, let's go out now. At this point, you can go out a little farther. Well, let's talk in a couple of weeks, or let's talk in a month. But if they still have questions, because you may or may not know all of those pieces, bring somebody else in that does have those pieces, that can talk to those questions that you may not be completely sure about. It's okay. There's no, oh, hey, David, there's no way that.
I was just going to add to that, but go ahead.
Yeah. No,
so
go ahead.
Not long ago, like a couple weeks ago, I was asked to be on one of these calls where I had to talk to a guy who was thinking about bringing his brokerage over. Another agent in Mass said, "Hey, will you do a 3-way call with us?" I didn't know the guy. I didn't know the guy who even called me to be on that call, but I said, "Sure, I'll be on the call." The interesting thing that happened was, because I was not directly a recipient or an upline to that potential person, I was able to tell them honestly, look, I have no skin in the game whether you join or not personally, but I'll give you my experience. So it's kind of nice if you can connect to somebody who isn't directly related to you, because then it doesn't feel like it's salesmanship. They're just giving their account of what the experience is here.
And it can just be somebody you respect.
Yeah, and actually they really, like, the guy called me back there and said, this is the best 3-way call I've ever been on, and they're probably going to come on board. Thanks. I was like, well, I was just letting it hang out in the wind because I didn't care, because there wasn't pressure on me to like win this one. I was just telling them what I thought.
And that comes across.
Right. That's my point. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you got to give them time to marinate. They've learned your presentation. They've had their questions answered. The next thing is just a follow-up. The EXP value proposition will stand on its own. There's no doubt. They cannot unsee what they saw. Any of you that go to build, you see that all the time. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. That sticks in my head. It's very true. And now they're going to start to question everything. So the other thing you want to happen, which is like, you've done everything right, is when they ask of you, what's next? Where do we go from here? How do I get started? Okay, you're on the right track. So then, again, you don't want to push. We've already talked about that a million times. Edification. This is a big part that I don't know if everybody does, and I think it's a huge part of this. After your presentation call, the next part is that edification, building one another up. So if you look at it, and you have the next meeting with them, bring somebody else on. Now this is just Q&A. Your nerve-wracking presentation is over. They've marinated, they've thought it all through, and now they're like, all right, I got other questions. And it could go, this edification process could go on. You could go up the ladder, you could go with whoever you wanted to do it. But what this is this is not you talking anymore. This is somebody next to you, above you, below, whatever, somebody that you respect that's gonna edify you. So when you get on this call and you have a conversation and you introduce this person, a little bit about their background with this person that you've brought on to share, you want to talk about how wonderful this person is. I brought them on because they're this and they're that, and they did this, and I thought they might be able to share some experiences or answer any of your questions that I might not be able to, and then you let them talk. So again, you're taking a back seat and let them have a conversation. I brought someone in that was into REOs, and I courted this man for months and months. And I brought in another REO guy from Washington State, and they went on and talked about it, and that's what clinched it. I didn't know the ins and outs of REO, so I brought somebody on that did. So if somebody has a niche that they're looking for, make sure that happens. Rachel, that's Todd Schneider, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and look at what that's done. But anyway, so this is just about exploring, and you can do this over and over and over as much as you want to. But don't forget about this one. So there's a couple of times you need to stand back, and there's be there as a guide, but there's a couple of times you need to just let somebody else talk. So then obviously if they have any questions or thoughts. Oh wait, I'm going the wrong way. There we go. Okay. And then after that, if the edification, that's all fine. You can do that again as many times as you want. Take them into the world. This is one thing that is a big thing for EXP. They really want to make sure everybody's going to the world. They're not. You know how many people are at state meetings and everything else. It's not that much. If you get 10%, you're doing great. But take them in, show them around, take them to their state, take them to meet the brokers, take them on a boat ride, take them on the pirate ship, do whatever. It is the coolest thing. If you have, the rest of us are like, I'm in it all day long, but they're not, and they can absolutely love it. But set them up with a guest pass, give them at least 2 days to do that, because you're not gonna have to download pretty soon with the new stuff coming out, but give them time right now for downloads. Now, try to get in there with them if you can. You want to prove to these people that you're going to be there for them. You can choose to do what you want later. And those of you that have teams, yes, it makes sense if they're going to be on your team. But those that are just sponsoring someone that are going to be independent, just let them know you're there. You're there for them, and take those steps. They really matter. So make sure they can download the regular world tours if you want to just do that Monday through Friday, 1, 3, and 5 Eastern, 10, 12, and 2 Pacific, same time every week. So you can couple it with that, so you don't have to show them around, and they'll just take them. This is a big thing. This is a very good thing to do. Hey, David.
Hey, Lynn, how you doing? How's everybody?
Good. Okay, and then the last step is to what is the follow-up? What's your long-term follow-up? Again, you can do this over and over, but make sure the steps are in place. The steps build upon one another, and they create all kinds of respect and safety, if you will. Decide if you're going to do it on KV Core, CRM Grow, like you said, Matthew, social media, YouTube, whatever it is. Have a plan, set the schedule, and just set reminders and just keep going. So we say it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. If it becomes a sprint, the one thing I hear all the time when people offboard, just in general, is that they're lost. They don't feel like they were, for people that are thrown in there and they're not coddled, is totally the wrong word. They're not supported. They're not taken care of. They'll leave. They'll be out of there in 3, 4, 5, 6 months, because they're like, I'm lost. There's too much here. I'm drinking from a fire hose. So by taking these steps, and yes, it can seem overwhelming, but you just put it into, like you were saying, Lou, you just put it into what your day is going on. You just make it happen. So just It's not a sprint. Just remember that part of it. So the next one, we're going to go over long-range plans, the links and resources of everything, presentation, ideas, templates, all of that, the join app. There's go on the join apps with people. There's a statistic that 70% stay longer if you go through the join app with everybody. And there's nothing worse than somebody sitting there going, well, what do I do now? How do I do this? And especially if you have a team, that's all tricky. And we're going to go over team options and an overview of that. There have been some changes on that. And then just follow up and support. So that's next. So I know I went really fast at the end, and I'm sorry. Any other thoughts or questions or anything you want to share?
Yeah, I have one little thought when you talk about how it's like drinking from the fire hose, and it definitely is overwhelming. I always acknowledge that with people, and I say, look, I got to be an icon, and I still don't even know half the stuff that there is available to me at EXP. So don't feel like it's too much overwhelming, because you can be really successful with even just a fraction of what's available to you at EXP.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And there's lots of resources. And like I know Lynn mentioned too about when you have the third party call, those are really important. Not only do they help have somebody else share EXP, but it also lets that person know, oh, good, I don't have to attract and explain everything to EXP. I just connect somebody else. So that makes it a little bit easier for me if they're doing that. But there's so many resources, and somebody doesn't even have to be in your upline. If you go to different meetings on Zoom, you'll find somebody else that you connect with, and they would be happy to be a third party call person for you. Right?
Yes, I mean,
That's
just about anybody would. People ask other people all the time. Yeah, absolutely. The other thing about all the resources in the fire hose, I like to tell people, just learn it when you need it. Like you got to learn sky slope, you got to know KV core. We'll learn and we'll go on forever with that, but learn it when you need it. Don't overwhelm yourself in the beginning. Take baby steps. There's so much there, and you might not need the resources there for every single person doing every single thing, and everybody doesn't need that. So pick and choose. All right, great. Anything else, guys?
I was just going to say, I think the biggest takeaway from the meeting is the concept that if you don't even, you have to have a really good understanding of the basics about what EXP offers, or that's going to be your hindrance and your hang up as to why you feel you can't do agent attraction. I feel like once you get a good understanding, and it might just take time as you naturally grow at EXP to really see the value and everything and understand all the, even though it's hard to know all the things that EXP does give you, if you have the basics and the knowledge of like what you're getting at the core, you can present upon it, speak about it, talk about it much more fluently, just like with anything else. And I think that that's probably, I would guess, most people's pushback with agent attraction is they feel like they don't understand everything about the model because it's such an amazing big model. So like, I honestly feel like educate yourself on what EXP has to offer and make sure you feel comfortable with it, like quiz yourself on it. And then you're going to be like, okay, well, I can obviously sell this now, because nobody wants to sell, and sell is the wrong word, but nobody wants to present something that they don't understand because they feel like they're going to get asked that question that they don't know the answer to. And that's where the fear is. So just make sure you know what you're talking about. And I think organically, you're going to feel much better about attracting.
Wow, agreed. And the other thing is, by having a presentation, you'll have it written right in front of you.
Exactly.
With links to get details if you need to from that standpoint. Yeah.
Where would you recommend a presentation, or getting a presentation, or like where to start compiling that?
Well, you start Google Drive, and I'll have some presentation templates, but and what you need to put in it, but develop it yourself. You put your personality into it. I wouldn't pull one, off the internet or anything, because if it's you, it's got to be you. Or do a video. You can do a video. That's positive too. But I would not suggest doing that instead of a presentation, because you don't have the back and forth.
Yeah, there are some big ones, right? I think next week I can share. I built mine off Sean Kokoska, and then I just changed it up to, it's a PowerPoint, and I just changed it up to me. But one thing I did too is in that you can build slides that, like what Lynn just said, and depending on what state or whatever you're in. But I imported a few videos from YouTube into my PowerPoint presentation. So when I do the next slide, I'm going to say, we're going to watch a 9-minute video, or there's a great video from Allison Gaddy who used to be at Keller Williams, it's only 18 minutes. So I show that whenever I'm working with a Keller Williams agent. So you can do different things to change it up. But I use the template I used was from Sean Kokoska, who came from Keller Williams. So, but I use that, and then I just have specific talking points. And in the initial questioning that Lynn mentioned, you ask them, well, you can say, well, what is it? Or about health insurance. Because what if somebody doesn't have health insurance? That could be even better than revenue share and anything that makes them move to EXP. But what I do know about the health insurance is that people that are on EXP health insurance, they're saving at least $600 to $800 a month in health insurance premiums. And that's huge. And the coverage is great. So if that's their pain point, I don't know everything, like what Frank said. I don't know everything about the health insurance, but I know that enough to get them to be interested in it. But
you can always send them a link to it. I mean, any question they're going to have, EXP's got a link or a website or a page on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't understand insurance. I never have been able to.
You know what I like about your presentation, Lynn, that I didn't consider before was the first meeting just be about them talking and then have a separate second meeting to say, here's solutions to that. I've always had people like, I'm used to having that dialogue where they'll say, oh, well, this or that. And I'm trying to rack my brain, okay, what's my best answer for that? But by the second meeting, you have time to like research those things a little bit so you can come with a much better, prepared answer than just off the cuff. So that's really cool.
Yeah, that's good. And now they feel like I'm listened to. I'm not being sold. That's the main reason for it.
Yeah.
So Lynn, I have a question. So so let's say you start talking to somebody, you're just asking them how they're doing. They know you were the EXP and they just bring it up right away. If you're gonna try to get me to EXP, then I'm really not interested in talking to you. What do you do if they immediately come up with this?
Well, you don't.
So you can't just
okay, well, I'm here if you need me, or I'll send you some information and take a look, or send them a video. Don't push. If they're not ready, they're not ready. But that's where the CRM comes in. That's where all you just be ready when they are. Because how many people say that right off the bat? Of course, I'm not. Leave me alone. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, but what I mean is without even bringing up EXP, just how's you doing? How's your business going? How's everything there? And then they know you with the EXP, so they bring it up and say, if you're calling me to try to talk me into that, don't bother or something like that. Then you just cut off.
Well,
that's what I was going to say. Sometimes I'll just lean into how when that happens, make them feel terrible and unwanted at EXP, and that'll make them want to come on board even more.
and I know some people have said, well, oh, wow. Okay. I get it. I understand. Have you had somebody show you the EXP business model or the 2023 EXP business model? And they're like, the 23, I've seen another one, but when they're really tough, I know some successful attractors will say, look, if I could show you how you can have an additional 30,000, I'm reading a $30,000 to $50,000 annually net without increasing production, would it be worth 20 to 30 minutes of your time? Let's just jump on a Zoom call next few days. So they're like 20 to 30,000. So, I mean, I think when Lynn mentioned the spreadsheet calculators that really show the comparison, most often they are saving 20 to 30,000 or 20 to 50,000. So you're not lying when you say that. So.
There are going to be people that just leave me alone, and that's fine. It's okay. It's what next, or whatever. But yeah, thank you.
They say no means not now, but in the future,
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing is, where are you coming from on that? Like, and I'm not saying that specifically to you, Nancy, but where are you coming from on this? When you look at agent attraction, if you're looking, oh my God, I got to get bodies in there. Oh my God. Well, that's going to come across out of every pore of your being. But if you look at it from the standpoint of, look, this is really amazing, and I want to help. You know how much you can change somebody's life by introducing them to this, for somebody that's going to do something with it. Like we talk about those 4,500 people that are doing all of those pieces. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. But if you look at, well, if I can share this with you and you can build a legacy and you can have this revenue share to send to your own children, how cool is that? Finding out what their why is. We all went over our whys. What if their why is, I want to buy my kid a horse? And they're not going to be able to do that unless something else happens. Those are the pieces that they got to look at. But it's all where you're coming from.
Yeah. I might honestly, I might say something a little bit aloof to those people, like, because I have been at like, I don't know, I forget if it was open houses or wherever. I had something, I was having just casual conversation with other agents, and then they say here on the EXP, and the girl immediately defensively goes, "Don't try to recruit me." And I immediately go, "No, I don't want to recruit anybody who doesn't want to make a lot more money. Don't worry about it. You're all safe." And I laugh and I joke and I move on and I don't even talk to them.
Well,
I'm
the
like,
other piece of it too, like what we're doing, we are doing an event that's kind of agent attraction, kind of not. But if you're going to do agent attraction, be specific that you're doing agent attraction. Like if so, we're having an event that's just inviting everybody, and then after that, we're going to have something on a quarterly basis that is agent attraction. Very specifically, come, you know, EXP explain why EXP and me. Come learn, and be specific about it. So that's as you're having conversations with people and they're, you know, thinking, well, maybe I will go and check it out or whatever, but just a thought. I'm not recruiting anyone, but our business model is attracting a lot of forward-thinking agents. Well, that's very true, isn't it? True statement.
I mean, the other concept is too, you know, it's like, so I talked to you about EXP, you join EXP, two things can happen. Either it changes your life and you realize you're happy with the best brokerage that's out there, or you find out it's not for you, you leave and you go to a different brokerage. It's, you know, it's like, it's one or two things can happen. It's not like, you know, it's not like once you joined EXP, you could never go switch to somewhere else that was a different fit or something. So it's like, there's, you know, that negative connotation that, like, you know, I don't even want to talk about the concept of joining EXP is silly, because it's like, you know, there's always potentially a different option out there, and if you don't like it, you don't have to stick with it, but you should at least know your options. A lot of people don't even have a concept or a clue what EXP is about. So I think it's our job to just kind of, like, you know, at least be able to tell them where they can find the information, because it is a life-changing, you know, brokerage to be working with.
And to not have that, I got to sell you all at one. No, it's a marathon. It's a first conversation, second conversation. You want a meeting.
Yeah.
You know, that's a good point you made, Frank, as far as you don't have to stay. I've actually said also in conversation, well, you know, if you come on board and you spend $149, which is super cheap, to see what it's about, you really haven't lost a whole lot of ground here or risked a whole lot to possibly change your life. I mean, you know, I say something to those effects like, well, $150, and if it doesn't work out, you can always go back, you know, and I make it light that way too sometimes.
Yeah, it's a big deal to change a brokerage too. And I think sometimes people look at it as, oh, the work. Oh, I've got listings. Where am I in the whole process? And what have I got to do? That can all be harder. That can be part of it too. But awesome sharing today, guys. Thank you. This is great. This is the best part of it.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
David, I was curious, do you do that often, go to open houses and try to talk to agents that way? I always wondered if that might be a good idea, but the way the market is right now, there's so many buyers going through, I would think you don't have time to say.
The answer is no. I don't go there specifically to talk to other agents because they're busy with their thing. But I work with a lot of buyers. So when I'm at open houses, I try to be really dynamic and just connect with agents for the sake of my clients at the time. Because most people at these open houses, you may have seen, they're kind of close to the vest. They don't give too much up. I'm kind of the opposite. I just I engage that agent a lot and just strike up conversations with them. And it really, you know, tends to sort of break down the barriers where we just have just general conversation. Like I'll find commonalities like, oh man, this is a madhouse. These rates are insane. I can't believe what's going on. Can you blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah, the market's going to get tighter and tighter. And I might just loosely say, thank God I've got a bunch of different streams of income at the brokerage I'm at, and I leave it at that, and I just move on. Yeah. Like I don't like dive deep or like, hey, come on over. Your life sucks. Come here. You'll like it better. You know,
maybe going towards the end of the time of the open house, like if it's from 1 to 3, show up at 10 of 3 or something like that.
Yeah, no, that's actually a good idea too, because you can go under the guise that you're, you know, looking at houses for people, and you can be like, yeah, how was your day? Was it good? Were you slammed all day? Yeah. Was it crazy? You know. Have you had a lot of these? You know, that sort of leads into that conversation of,
that might be something, you know,
how's your business going? Yeah, if I make it more about, you know, that camaraderie and, and sort of misery loves company sort of conversation in a way where people are talking about their challenges, then you can sort of, work into how I'm happy where I'm at, and things are good, from a bright spot,
Yeah, maybe I'll try that.
And also drive a Ferrari to the open house. They see how well you're doing if you love that.
Well, I have a
Rent
2-year-old
one.
car, good enough.
Just rent one for the day, and take it right over like a music video,
That's funny. I gotta go because I gotta get on another call.
All right, I know we're way over time. Thank you, everybody, very much.
Yeah, thanks, Carolyn.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye, David.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
See you. Bye, David.
Thank you. This was great.
Thank you. Take care, Jennifer.
Bye.
Are you good, David? Oh, you're muted.
Hey, what time did we start this morning?
Your 8:30, mine 9:30.
Oh, wow.
I
Okay, I'm
recorded,
sorry.
hold on, I recorded